My name is Bozoma Saint John. I'm a Hall of Fame marketer. Worked at a lot of big companies over the course of my career. I currently am a published author and also the ambassador to the diaspora for Ghana.
I would like to welcome to the stage the incredible Billboard Executive of the Year, Bozoma Saint John.
By the time I found my calling, I was in my early 20s, so I'm thankful. Yes, I have a thick resume full of accomplishments that most people aspire to. Some people don't even achieve. But to me, when I look in the mirror and I see 46, almost 47-year-old Boz, I'm like, girl, you just getting started. I never needed to make myself known in a room. Just my presence alone certainly made a statement.
It's actually kind of good that I won because I was going to Kanye West the situation if I didn't win. Okay.
The most important thing is to actually be curious about people, to like people. Because I'm certainly not finished, but who continues in the sport or in the field that they're in when you're inducted into the Hall of Fame? Did I think I was going to be an author at 46? No, I didn't. I don't know what I'm going to be at 50 either. It can really be confusing for people to look at my career, my success, and think that oh, how did she get there? And can I get there right now? You don't realize that it's been 25 years of work.
It kind of feels appropriate to start with my father's mother, who I am named after. Bozoma was her name. She was the wife of a chief, and it seems appropriate that I've become a chief myself. You know, she was a young woman in Nzema in Ghana, with the probability and the statistics that her name would ever be known are so small that they'd ever make it into anybody's hall of anything is so small. And the fact that she birthed a man who would become my father, but that she would never see him as an adult, makes this even sweeter to have her name said in these spaces. I'm so thankful to her and to her legacy. And I'm thankful, of course, to my father, who was persistent in his pursuit of greatness, his own excellence. Or that he would meet my mother and that they would raise 4 girls. It gave us a home that was filled with joy and laughter. And my sisters, Ilua, Ahoba, Abba, were my companions. I'm the eldest of them, and there's only 6 years between myself and the youngest. And so I credit them with perhaps some of my earliest understandings of leadership.
I believe that age is not a factor. You know, it's like, look, many people fall into their careers. I feel like I fell into mine. I had plans to be a doctor. I went to college, did pre-med, but I was also dabbling in the creative art, where really my passion, my heart was. And by the time I found my calling, I was in my early 20s, so I'm thankful that I found it early on, but I don't think there's an age question, about finding really your calling. And I also feel like there's an evolution over time, that I'm not the same person that I was when I'm 23. My interests are different. My talent is different. I have found new ways to be. And did I think I was going to be an author at 46? No, I didn't. And so I don't know what I'm going to be at 50 either. I feel like I'm just getting started. It's like, yes, I have a thick resume full of accomplishments that most people aspire to. Some people don't even achieve. But to me, when I look in the mirror and I see 46, almost 47-year-old Boz, I'm like, girl, you just getting started, just getting warmed up. I don't know if I can pinpoint a time when it all began. Maybe you can say it began before I got here because my parents are so passionate about academia, about Africa, about life, about their own being, that they pass it on to me in their DNA. I don't think there's a way I could be on this planet as the person I am without their influence. But if I look at myself, and of course, everyone has their own destiny, everyone has their own enthusiasm, ambition, all of those things. Yes, I inherited some things from my parents, but my ambition is mine. And so if I look at my life and think about my career and where I started, I would say that it probably started before I knew what my career was going to be. Started with understanding the importance of my history and my culture, understanding the importance of who I am in this world, that I wasn't trying to assimilate, into anybody else or be anything else but myself. You know what's so funny is that I was a really quiet child. I have an uncle who currently is completely baffled at the fact that I have the career I have, or I am the person I am, because he always says, hey, our little Bozoma, the quiet little mouse, has become this roaring lion. And I take pride in that because I think, again, it's like evolution has brought me to a place where I feel fully whole in my being. You know, that I can roar loudly because I never needed to do that before. I never needed to make myself known in a room. Just my presence alone certainly made a statement. But as a kid, I certainly wasn't who you see now. Well, I think the child in me, that quiet, mousy person, still exists. You know, I think people assume that I'm an extrovert because I'm out and I'm enjoying life and I'm always with people or on a stage or, you know, being big. But truly my happiest moments are alone, you know, in the quiet by myself. And I actually need that in order to then come outside and be the person that I am. I certainly get energy from my quiet, thoughtful moments rather than the moments where I'm out with people. Well, I think there's balance in my day. You know, I mean balance, not that there is like, you know, certain hours I put away for reflection and certain hours I put away for ambition. Some days it's 24 hours of ambition. Some days it's 24 hours of go, 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 go. It could be a week, 72 hours, however long it takes for me to do the thing that I want to do. And there are some days where I need to be quiet for a long stretch of time to re-energize, to find my ambition, to find my creativity again. And so by balance, I just mean that it's my own type of, I don't know, I guess inner clock, inner understanding of what I need to do in order to really move and make the impact I need to make. And so for me, a typical day looks like, you know, when I wake up and decide, okay, like what am I going to achieve today? I always live by, you know, this idea that I got from Diane Ackerman, who's an author I really admire. I actually used her words at the beginning of my book. And she said, I want to get to the end of my life, not just have lived the length of it, but to have lived the width of it. And so for me, my life is going to be lived wide. I want every day to feel like I accomplished. And if it means sitting on the couch with my teeth unbrushed, sitting in my pajamas, it's still a wide life. I'm still enjoying the relaxation of it all. Well, I think as a marketer or someone who communicates with people, the most important thing is to actually be curious about people, to like people. I love stories. I love people's stories. I love to understand where they came from, what they're doing now, where they're going, why they do the things they do. Sometimes people can't articulate, you know, the exact reason why they're doing something, and it makes me more curious about what got them to the place that they are. And I don't know that there's a communicator who does this professionally who doesn't understand or doesn't like people and their stories. You have to have that in order to even begin the process. Now, after that, it's about actually continuously listening, continuously learning about people, and therefore being able to reflect their stories back to them in a way that they can accept. It can really be confusing for people to look at my career, my success, and think that like, oh, how did she get there? And can I get there right now? You don't realize that it's been 25 years of work. You know, that like, for me, every moment matters. I don't just sit at the top and look down at the plebs and say, look at me, I'm queen of the castle. Even the work I do today, I'm still on the ground. There's no job that is too small for me to do. I don't just delegate and say, you people go do my things. You know, the idea of success is not just that like you get to the mountaintop and then you sit there and watch the world pass you by. You're still in the details. You still have the hunger and the passion for your excellence, your own excellence. So if you want to know how to be successful in marketing, how to get the big jobs, the big clients, do the small things. Do them really, really well. Do them better than everybody else. And I guarantee you the big things will come. Because if you don't do the small things, there's no way that you compound that into something very large. So for me, it's the excellence of small things. That's why I'm successful. I think it's important to have teamwork. You know, that certainly you can't do a lot of things alone. Certainly you can do some things by yourself. But it's important to understand when and where to involve other people. You know, I have a pretty strict rule about that. Like, I don't want to always be in the company of everyone in order to get things done. Sometimes, you know, doing things in committee can really be a disaster. I feel like it's really important to understand the strength of yourself the strength of your own contribution, and then add that to what you're contributing to a larger team. But never forget that your contribution is really important, and also take credit for your own contribution. I think entrepreneurship is one of those things where it's like, it's not meant for everybody. You know, I've been a career corporate executive for almost the entirety of my life. Interestingly enough, a friend and I came up with a term like intrapreneur, you know, which means that inside of the corporate environments, I've also become an entrepreneur, meaning that, yes, I have my job, I have the requirements that I need to execute for the role I'm hired for, but then I also have an ability to do more than that, you know, to create more. And I think that's really where my value has been shown in the workplace and why I've been able to rise to levels I've risen. I don't just do the job I'm assigned to do. I do that really well, and I do more than that. I create, you know, and when you create more to add more value into the team or into the business that you're running, obviously it's like that takes your own self-assuredness, it takes your own self-motivation, because nobody asked you to do that. Nobody asked you to do that. And the same for an entrepreneur who's starting a business. Nobody asked you to do that. You just woke up one day and said, you know what the world needs? It needs this thing that I can provide it. And so that's what I'm hopeful that when I'm in a corporation or inside of a company, I'm also adding additional value. And my hope is that now that I am looking at what is coming next, I'm able to apply that to whatever is coming. I believe my moment of wonder has happened several times in my life. Now, what a blessing that is to have what I call like those inflection points over time, where I have recognized that this moment right now is meant to pivot me into the next stage of my life. Some of them have come from tragedy and trauma, and some have come from great triumph. You know, in 2013, when my husband was diagnosed with cancer, and then he died 6 months later, that was a moment of real trauma. It was also an inflection point in my life, where I went from the innocence of living a life that could be just the dream to one of tragedy. I didn't think I'd be a widow that early in my life. And that moment could have taken me all the way down, but I feel like it's a moment of wonder because it opened up the world to me. It opened up the idea of urgency to me, and it changed the trajectory of my life. Additionally, when I was at Apple and I decided that, look, I don't have anything to lose, I might as well ask for the spotlight, the big one, the big stage, you know, the one that Steve Jobs created at the keynote, and present Apple Music to the world as the one to do it, whether the stock rose or dropped based on that presentation. That moment when I was standing on stage playing Afrobeats, which is now Afrobeats, but at the time we called hip life, was a moment of wonder, because it was the first time a Black person had been on that stage. It was the first time that our music had been heard in that kind of arena. And so I'm blessed to have had many moments of wonder.
Bozoma Saint John.
Thank you, Eddie. All right, ladies and gents, I'm so excited to show you the all-new Apple Music. So now, when we open up the Music app, you'll see that the first tab is the library. People also have huge music libraries. So now it's easier to navigate with simple sections like playlists, artists, albums, songs, and now a new section called downloaded music. I call him Bella Caroli as a joke, but Steve Gadikian was the one who helped me understand how to talk about it from an engineer standpoint. Journalists said that after I performed, that I was the coolest person to walk across the Apple stage. Yeah, coolest. Past Steve Jobs. 1, 2, 3, rock. Yes, there you go. All right, now we're gonna multitask, okay? Look at the bottom of the screen. You see the artwork, the title, and controls so that you can skip. And when we open it, you'll see that there is beautiful detail on the artwork, the controls, and now there are lyrics. So come on, we're gonna rap. Let's go. We're gonna pause this, okay? Because some of you guys are not rapping to the beat, okay?
James, welcome to Apple Music. We are so excited to be making a commercial with you.
Stop. Here's your commercial. Me as every iconic music star in history. Bang, I'm Bowie. This is... Go! I'm the Spice Girls.
Yo, tell you what I want.
I'm Pharrell.
Clap along if you...
Stop. Maybe not Pharrell.
James, we just want to tell people all the ways they can listen to Apple Music, even offline, like on a plane, in a car.
Say no more. How about this? What if I'm driving?
Gosh, a list of accomplishments. How much time do we have? All right, well, I mean, I feel like there are a few big moments that I look back on my career and have wonder, it's like an awe of that. Maybe one of the first was even getting my job with Spike Lee. I was 23 years old. He's clearly one of the most accomplished directors and creators of our time. And I was so fortunate to be able to work in his office as his assistant, by the way. It wasn't even some hotshot job. I was getting coffee, doing the laundry, all those types of things, making copies. But for me, it's like you think about accomplishment, and sometimes people think the top of the mountain. But for me, that was the top of the mountain. I was taking a break from school, decided not to go to medical school. I remember one night I had worked late at the office, getting ready for one of his big meetings the next day. And I was in New York City and I lived far away, so I had to take the train home. But he allowed me to take one of the black cars, home. And I remember like rolling down the window and looking out into New York and feeling so accomplished, feeling like I made it. And I know that probably sounds silly because who thinks they made it when you're making no money? I'm an assistant. I'm clearly working very hard, later than everybody else. But for me, that moment was like, look, I've done something on my own. Like, this is mine. I can claim that this moment is mine.
Walked into 437 Madison Avenue, and it changed my life. I really didn't know what I was walking into, but I met people that are lifelong friends. It was the first time that I worked with Beyonce, and we cast her as Carmen in a commercial for Pepsi Co. It was incredible. It's what gave me confidence in knowing that something that I could spot could become a movement.
Well, I first came to know Boz at Pepsi Co, and hadn't ever encountered someone as fun or bold as her.
But I remember, Boz in meetings, walking into the room, sweeping into the room and taking over. And a lot has not changed since then.
I had the pleasure of meeting Boz many, many years ago when I started my advertising agency. And I knew right away that this young sister is a go-getter, and one day I'll probably end up working for her. Bozoma is that type of person that's not just in it for herself. Now, she wants to, do her thing, but she wants to include as many people with this. I think that some people are born with the capacity, with the knowledge and the wisdom that it's not just about you. Yes, you gotta keep yourself good, but you also gotta bring up the community too.
And then there's the other tops, like standing on stage, being inducted into the Marketing Hall of Fame. A decade younger than most of the people who are getting inducted with me, and wondering like, wow, well, I guess I've made it. I guess I've done what I set out to do. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's it in marketing for me. And it opened up another understanding for me because I thought, oh gosh, maybe there are more careers for me to do because I'm certainly not finished. But who continues in the sport or in the field that they're in when you're inducted into the Hall of Fame? And so I would say that there's some pretty big ones. I'll tell you one thing that is consistent in marketing. It is the understanding of not just what is happening right now, but what is about to happen next. Paying attention to the detail of what is happening in the world, how people are moving, what they're thinking, is going to give you the advantage of what happens next. I think often we're so caught up in like what has happened in the past that you don't really pay attention to what's about to happen. You get caught up in the would've, should'ves, could'ves, and you missed what's about to happen. And so you get stuck in this endless cycle of just being in this wheel that you can't get out of. And so for me, it's like when I look at my career, I look at marketing, I look at people who are coming up behind me, I'm always like, pay attention to what's happening right now. Don't worry about what happened yesterday. Let it go. Let it go. If you can let it go fast, you're gonna move. I have a lot of fun. I mean, look, I am serious about my work. I am passionate about my business. I am driven for results, but I have a good time while doing it. I think you're going to tell, like I have a passion for what I do. I have a passion for people. I have a passion for storytelling. I have a passion for the business, but I'm very serious about it. Like I don't take it lightly. And what inspires me is the older me. You know, I want 80-year-old Boz to be so happy with the way I live my life. I want to be sitting on that porch looking back at this world and at the career I created, the family I grew, the people I loved, and be so happy with it. And that's why today is like, I go. You know, when there's an opportunity, I take it. I want the stories later on. I want to be able to tell people, you will not believe what I did when I was 42. You will not believe what happened when I was 27. You won't believe what I did at 63. You know what I mean? Like that to me is what's inspiring to me. It's not necessarily thinking about the next person or, you know, like some accolade. I'm inspired by 80-year-old me. Oh my goodness. I love books. I like my time alone because it allows me to go deep into my own thoughts, but also allows me to get into other writers, other words that people have written, you know, have a quiet moment with. Some of my favorite authors, Toni Morrison, by far is my favorite author. You know, Song of Solomon is my favorite book in the world. I always recommend people to read it, you know, because I love her writing because she never came down to the lowest level. She aspires for everyone who interacts with her work to come up to the highest level. That's what I want to do. I want people to rise because they interacted with the work I did, not have to dumb down anything to make it to the lowest common denominator. But the books that I also love are, you know, stuff like The Writer's Way or The Artist's Way. That is a standard classic I feel like everyone should read because it allows you to really understand your own artistry. It doesn't matter if you're a doctor or you're an architect or you're a creative writer. It's like The Artist's Way allows you to understand how you actually create in your own space, in your own industry. And so, I could go on and on about the writers, but it's too. I don't know that I have an identity outside of being Ghanaian and American. You know, I think sometimes we're so forced to choose. Who are you, more Ghanaian or are you more American? Oh, what does your name mean? Oh, what about this name? You know, that we get so caught up in trying to align with something specific or a mass that you lose out on what is so special and unique. And so now I'm fully accepting of my Ghanaianness and of my Americanness and the places where they intersect. And I'm so proud of it. You know, when I was a kid, my parents moved back to Ghana when I was 6 months old. They had both gone overseas for education. My dad got his PhDs, but decided to come back to the continent because he's very Ghanaian, you know, and he was one of those that said, oh, I'm going to go out for education, but I'm coming back to the continent to help. And so when we got back, he was a lecturer at Legon. He got into politics. He was a member of parliament for Hilla Liman. And then the government was overthrown by J.J. Rawlings. So we left. And that was the first time that as a kid, I knew what it felt like to be othered in another place, that my Ghanaianness became a badge of identity, whereas I didn't think of it that way before. And by the time we settled in Colorado Springs, Colorado when I was 12, I fully understood that I was not like the other kids who were in America. Not just my name, but the food I ate at home, the language we spoke in the house. You know, my mother was adamant that we eat Ghanaian food, that we speak Fanti constantly. Man, when my friends came over to the house, they would have to speak Fanti with her. You know, she made sure to teach them little words, medase. You know, she'd make sure you say thank you in our language when you're in our house. You know, and I just love that now because, of course, as a kid, I found it difficult. Who wants to go to school with like your lunch pail smelling like sardine stew? You know, but like now as an adult, I carry my Ghanaianness everywhere I go. It doesn't matter if I'm in an American boardroom. I need you to understand where my culture is and how I operate because my lens is filtered through a Ghanaian lens, through an African lens, through being first gen. And so I have a certain sensitivity to that. And then when I come to Ghana, I understand what it's like to be a diasporan and want to come and discover yourself here. I understand what it's like to enter these hallways and touch this soil and feel a connectedness that maybe you didn't have every day, but now you feel in your spirit. And so as I think about the work I do now, especially on behalf of the diaspora, I like to encourage people to come because I know what it is. I know the power of this place. I know that you can come here and forget that you are Black because you're celebrating Blackness every day. That it's not something special to be ogled or to be set apart, but it's something to be celebrated every single moment of every single day and the joy that it brings. And I know what it's like to leave this place and go back to a society that perhaps doesn't celebrate you every day and still carry the joy of it. And so as I think about my Ghanaianness, I'm so blessed that I have the opportunity to be here. And I just want to encourage more people to come. So I bring them myself. So it's been like 7 years worth of work. When I first met the president of Ghana in 2017, he had just made the declaration to the United Nations that 2019 would be the year of return. And so he asked me to help him write a marketing strategy that would allow for people to come and feel welcomed and feel excited. Of course, he was doing all the hard work with the policy, and I did the hard work of making this place seem sexy and amazing and incredible that you'd want to visit. Because I think for a long time, people felt almost like the obligation of having to visit for some long dead ancestor somewhere, which of course we respect and honor. But you have to want to come to a place because you want to come, because you want to have a good time, because you want to discover it. And so that became my rally cry. Why do you want to come here? And if I can convince you that this place has the excitement that you're looking for when you go to Paris, the party when you go to Ibiza, the history when you go to London, then you'll come here. And so that has been my mission all along. So I've created a lot of initiatives, start off with the Full Circle Festival, which brought about, close to 500 people to Ghana over the course of 3 years. And then I transformed that into something that I feel is really special right now called Black Gold. It is a celebration over the new year for, everyone, not just diasporans, but local Ghanaians, to really think about the magic that we have in ourselves as Black people, the Black excellence, and also the gold that is native to this land. I really think it's an opportunity for us to celebrate not just Deti December, but a turn of the new year. One of my favorite parts about that transition of year to year is the dawn, standing in the Atlantic Ocean, which is where we know ancestors were carried off into the slave trade, and being able to reclaim that year, that time, and say, I'm standing here in triumph. I'm standing here in celebration. And it's one of my favorite things to watch that dawn come up on New Year's Day. But, we'll see what else we create. I think that the work is never over. It's never finished. And so I'm excited to see what else we create. And we all know that one of the most celebrated cultures, clans in our culture are the Ashanti. And it's been such an honor to be able to meet the sitting chief, the king himself, Otunfo, who invited me to come to Menchia Palace as he celebrates his 25th year on the throne to celebrate the first Sunday of the year. And I was in awe. I don't think you can be there and see the richness of the color of our kente and the gold that we're wearing and the lion head that is sitting at his feet and not feel the excitement and the wonder of our culture and how incredible it is. I want everybody to see it. I want everybody to know. I want people to forget the images that they grew up with about these poor, desolate Africans that they needed to help. And I want you to see the richness of our culture, that it is ancient. It came before yours, and that you probably took some tradition from ours. And so if we're able to celebrate that and show the world this amazing culture that we have, starting with Menchia Palace, I want to also hit the Nzimas. I want to hit the Aunties. I want to hit the Ewe. I want to make sure that all of us are celebrated. Oh, don't forget the Gans before they come and fight me. The Gans too. Everybody that we can celebrate in the way that our culture is so rich and so diverse, I want to be able to showcase that. Legacy is such a hard thing, I think, to talk about. I find it really difficult to answer the question because I feel like legacy isn't just the end of your life. It is in the daily moments. It's in the conversations that you have. When I'm able to give an experience to a friend or allow them to see a part of themselves that they didn't know existed, I feel like that's legacy. I want people to remember me as someone who was able to give experiences that made them richer and better and more alive. It's not about how much I accomplished in my career or how much money I made. That's not, to me, the legacy I want to leave. I want people to remember me for having been generous with the experiences that I have and that I shared it all, that I left nothing, that I gave it all away. My name is Bozoma Saint John, and you have just seen the wonders of my career, of my culture, and of the things that I love about Ghana and America and everything in between.